Hey, it's Joe Amoia, founder and creator of GPSforlove.com. Have you ever been in a relationship where things were going well and then poof, the guy suddenly disappears? Or you in a relationship and you thought you were with the love of your life. You were even started planning the future. And then he turns around and tells you that he doesn't want to be with you anymore. And you're like blindsided. You're like, WTF, what's going on? Where did this come from? And so you're sitting there as he's gone, and maybe he's even moved on to somebody else, trying to figure out what the hell happened. And more importantly, how do you get over this so that you can move on and create the relationship that you thought that you had? Well, if so, I want you to pay close attention because today we're going to talk about 3 tools that you can actually use to move on, to get over the hurt, to get over the pain so that you can create the relationship you ultimately desire and deserve. So I recently received an email from Connie, one of the members of our GPS for Love community. And Connie says, "Dear Joe, how do you get your brain to tell your heart to stop hurting? I dated a man with a very strong connection. We had many things in common and we were a lot alike. Everything was going well. Then he suddenly disappeared without an explanation. Now logically I understand that this relation for some reason didn't work out. And that unless he wants it to work out, it's not going to. And I don't want to make him come back. But I obviously want to know why. But knowing why isn't going to make him come back either. It's not going to change the outcome. So I guess my real question is, what tools do I need to let go? I just want to learn how to let go, to stop hurting. It's been 3 months and the pain continues. Thanks, Connie." Well, first of all, Connie, I want to thank you for reaching out and sharing your feelings. And one of the reasons we ask you to send in your comments and your questions is because it helps us create videos that are actually going to help you with your struggles. So any of you who are watching this today, if there's something you're struggling with, make sure you post your question or your comments because it might wind up in the next video. So that being said, Connie's question, something I hear all the time from members of our community, is how? How do I go forward? How do I move on? How do I get over this after I've had my heart broken? Well, today we're going to talk about 3 tools that are actually going to help you go forward. 3 steps, 3 actions, because that's what we're all about at GPS for Love. So the first one, and this is such an important one, and that's to honor your feelings. See, healing is a process. You've got to give yourself permission to grieve. See, one of the things here is, you get others around you, your friends, your coworkers, your family members. Oh, it'll get better. There's plenty of other fish in the sea. Don't worry, there's somebody better out there when the time is right. And I understand they mean well, but what you have to understand is that doesn't honor your feelings. As human beings, we are emotional creatures. As Connie said, she knows logically that it's not the right thing and it's not best, and she doesn't want to be with a guy who doesn't want to be with her. But emotionally, she still can't get over it because it's our emotions that drive us as human beings. So you've got to be able to honor your feelings. And the biggest, most important thing that you can do in a situation like this is to simply face the pain. See, the only way to get past something, to get past the pain, to get past the heartbreak, is to go through it. What most of us do is because we don't like feeling uncomfortable. We don't like feeling the pain. So we numb ourselves. We avoid it. We don't deal with it. And so therefore it lingers. So the best thing, step number 1, is to face the pain, to face the heartbreak, to feel it, to deal with it head on. And when you do that, you'll get over it much quicker and much easier. So that's the first step, is to honor your feelings and to face the pain. Now, the second step is to actually take some mirror time and see why you're holding on. See, anything we do in life, we do because there's a reason. There's a payoff to it. So there's a reason why we hold on. See, sometimes we get to be the victim. See, we got screwed. It's his fault. He did this. And how could he do that to me? And I gave him everything. And now he did this. What a schmuck. What an asshole. I'm just the victim here. Okay? And that's the payoff sometimes, is we get to play the role of victim. Is look at how life happens to us. Look at how unfair. Well, you know what? I hope you're sitting down because, unfortunately, life isn't fair. Shit happens. But how you deal with it determines how quickly and how easily you get past and through it. So you also realize that sometimes the payoff is by focusing on how we've been screwed, how we've been hurt, how we've been lied to, cheated on, and betrayed, that actually keeps us from opening up and having our heart broken again. It keeps us from being vulnerable. It brings up all the other fears that we get to avoid by focusing on how we've been hurt. There's one of my favorite expressions is that you can't get to second base with your foot still on first. Okay, if you're focusing on the past and you're looking over there, well, then you can't get over here. Okay? And that's just the way it works. As human beings, again, we do everything because there's an emotional reason behind it. And very often the reason is it keeps us where we're at. It keeps us from really getting hurt. It keeps us from really putting ourselves out there. Now, also, when you look at why you're holding on, what you might realize is that it might bring up some of your stuff. Some of your stuff may come racing to the surface. Things like, well, see, I'm unlovable. I'm never going to find someone. I'm always going to be alone. Or maybe there's a feeling, you know what, I'm just not good enough. Okay, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not smart enough. And see, nobody's going to love me for who I am. Because I got to tell you, if I'm as a guy, if I'm in a relationship, we pick on that. We pick up on that stuff. And no matter how much we love someone, if they don't feel good enough inside, they don't feel smart enough, pretty enough, thin enough, then you know what? There's nothing a guy will ever fill that void. It has to be filled up by that person by themselves. And so sometimes, and I know you might not want to hear this, but guys disappear because they realize, you know what, no matter what I do, no matter what I say, it's never going to be good enough. And unconsciously, you drive guys away, and then you go, see, told you, that can't be trusted. They can't commit. And it's not that they can't, it's that unconsciously they were picking up your stuff and they realized that no matter what they were going to do, it wasn't going to be enough. And so they simply moved on. And maybe the way they moved on wasn't the right or best way. But again, people don't do things usually with the right intentions behind it. So that's something you want to be aware of. So step 2 is you want to look at why you're holding on. Now, step 3, this is the most important one. And you really don't even need the other 2 if you focus on this. And that's making a decision to move on. So you have to find the reason. There's an expression that comes from Tony Robbins, one of my mentors, who says, when your why is big enough, you'll find the how. See, as human beings, very often we try and do things logically, like we try and start a diet. We try and save more money. We try and stop spending on our credit cards. We try and make better choices in our relationship. We try and leave our ex. We try and leave a guy who's really not giving us the love that we desire and deserve. But then we can't, because emotionally our stuff comes up. There's a reason why we stay stuck. There's a reason why we repeat that unwanted behavior. And it works the same way. So if you're holding on, there's a reason why. And if you're having a hard time going forward, there's a reason why. So you have to find a hook, something emotionally that's going to help you make a decision where you're like, that's it. And it happens all the time in life. An alcoholic reaches rock bottom, or they lose their family, like, that's it, I'm done. A drug addict overdoses. And they're and they're faced with the prospect of dying, and they're like, you know what, that's it, I'm done. My dad had a heart attack at 35, and he had smoked for 15 years. And that heart attack said, you know what, that's it, done. Quit smoking cold turkey. So you've got to find that emotional reasons, a decision that will fuel you when you're faced with the obstacles of going backwards. So I'll give you an example. There was a time in my relationship where I was with a woman for 3 years. And for 3 years, she basically lied to me. And she said, I want to get married. We'll be happy. We'll have this wonderful relationship. And then 28 days before we were to get married, the story changed. And I was like, W, why didn't you tell me this 2 years ago? And mostly she didn't. So I was at that point where, I was pissed off. I was frustrated. I was heartbroken. I was out $20,000 from a wedding that never happened. I wasn't in a good emotional place, to be honest with you. But in that moment, I knew I had a decision to make. And I said to myself, my why was, you just ruined 3 years of my life, okay? But I'll be damned if I'm going to let you ruin the rest of my life. Because I actually had an aunt who went through the same thing. And she married a guy, and she got divorced. And for the rest of her life, she focused on that bastard and how he screwed her over. Never dated again. She lost herself physically. She lost herself mentally, and her life just turned to crap. And my why, my emotional reason, is that I don't want that to happen to me. So I'll be damned if I ever let somebody do that to me again. And so that decision, that choice became my why. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be your why, but you need to take some mirror time, some serious mirror time, and really look at this and go, okay, I now have a decision. I can continue to focus on the past. I can continue to focus on how I've been screwed, or I can learn from this, see this as an expensive learning lesson, and see what I need to do differently. Again, there's no right or wrong with this. It's either what you're doing is working and taking you closer to where you want to go, or it's not. and it's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you mirrored in the past and preventing you from going forward and creating the relationship that you desire and you deserve. So got a little homework. I know I threw a lot, but this is a serious, deep topic. And here at GPS, we want to give you action steps, real life practical tips and strategies that you can use, not this fluffy bullshit stuff, but real life stuff that will help you make a difference in your life so you can create the relationship you desire and deserve. So here's your homework. Take some mirror time, okay, and ask yourself, what is one step, one choice, one decision, one action, one thing that I can do today that's going to help me to start going closer toward towards my goals, to help me move forward, to help me get over the past. What is it that I can do right now that will create the result, take me closer to the result I desire? You see, in life, it's all about making progress. And making progress comes from taking consistent action. Consistent action that's going to take you closer to your goal. And that's what the purpose of today's exercise is. And that's what the purpose of today's video is. So, I know I threw a lot at you. Okay, it's been a lot, but I want to hear from you. Does this resonate with you? Does it bring up more of your stuff? Do you have any other questions or challenges that you need advice or input on? If so, post it in the comment section below, and who knows, it may be the next video. Till next time, always an honor and privilege. We'll see you. Much love.